What's going on, everybody? It's Rod with the POW Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Today is Thursday, May 8th. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, we're going to dive into Cronos Group's Q1 2025 earnings that just came out. They did beat analyst estimates, and they had positive EPS, so love to see that they're showing some positive momentum with regards to profitability, and the numbers really spoke for themselves. So we'll jump into that. We'll look at the chart toward the end. There was a bullish continuation pattern as well, and it played out perfectly. So we'll take a look at the price action. I'll give my thoughts and opinions on the technicals and what to expect there in the days, weeks, months ahead. But as always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And feel free to follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as another one of my platforms of choice going forward. So here was the news release today. Cronos Group reports 2025 Q1 results. So love to see some of these numbers really start to gain some momentum. There were some very impressive numbers to say the least with this report. Overall, they had a strong Q1. They had net revenue increasing 28% year over year to 32.3 million. There was a bit of a mixed bag in terms of analyst estimates. So 34.86 million was the forecast over on investing.com. So it did miss in terms of that. EPS was positive 0.01, came in at positive 0.02. But if we take a look at TradingView, they actually beat analyst estimates. So overall, I do think that the profitability, positive EPS, and then it was also their margin that really shined for the quarter as to why the stock was up so much today. It was up over 10% at one point. And like I said, we did have that daily bull flag and continuation pattern, and we would have hit daily overbought territory as well. So nice move here coming off of daily oversold. We had the daily EMA 12 and 26 bull cross. We had a daily uptrend and a daily bull flag. So we had our measured move there. We go from the low to the high, and then it was saying about 207 was the target, and today we hit 206. So you literally can't make this stuff up. But we'll dive into the chart a little bit more in detail here just after we go through some highlights. So they had net income of 7.7 million, a significant improvement from 2.4 million, which was a loss in Q1 2024. But gross profit surged 206% to 13.7 million, with gross margin expanding to 43%. The company maintains a robust balance sheet with 838 million in cash and investments. Also, Spinach brand held leading position in Canada, number 1 in edibles, number 3 in flour, and number 4 in vapes. There are Peace Naturals retaining number 1 position in Israel, but there's some concerns with regards to Israel and tariffs, which we'll discuss in a moment. But the board authorized a $50 million share buyback and repurchase program starting May 14th, 2025. And the Cronos Group expansion is on track for completion in Q2 2025. However, the company faces potential challenges in Israel, as I mentioned, with 165% chance on Canadian medical MJ imports. So some positive met with some negative. Overall, I thought it was a fantastic quarter. The gross margin expanded significantly from 18% to 43%. And if we just take a look at their cash position, it did decrease 7% to 797.8 million from the previous period. And CapEx, capital expenditures, increased 670% year over year to 15.4 million. But overall, they're sitting on a boatload of cash. They could easily acquire another operator, whether it be in the US or in Canada. But there's a lot to like here. But their profitability, 28% revenue growth, 206%, like I said, gross profit increase, and industry-leading 838 million cash position despite supply constraints. So as I said, most impressive was their profitability improvement and seeing that surge of 206%. And gross margin, it went from 18% to 43%. That's a 25% percentage point improvement. So love to see it. We're starting to really see these Canadian companies turn the page, while a lot of American companies are going through a lot of the same issues that happened in Canada. And one thing that I see all the time in the MJ space, it happens all the time in the finance world, but specifically in the MJ space. And I think the reason for that is because a lot of people coming into the MJ sector and purchasing MJ stocks, a lot of people just don't have any experience with regards to financial markets, right? People are coming in, they're a consumer. They understand the opportunity. MJ is going to be big, but they don't understand the way financial markets work. And they come in just guns blazing and they get eaten alive, right? And a lot of people don't know how to learn from their mistakes, or they've only made this mistake once and they think that this is just, like an anomaly. But this is how every sector works, right? Especially the ones that are really retail driven and focused on. They love to play with emotions, and that's often what they do. Is the bull markets will happen very, very quickly, and then the bear markets will last multiple years. And look how quickly this move here on the daily time frame happened, right? From daily oversold to overbought, it happened in about a month, and we were up almost 30% there off of the lows, and it can happen very, very quickly. We still got a lot of work to do here, but this daily bull flag, EMA 12 and 26 bull cross, daily oversold bounce, that was a great opportunity to take advantage of a potential swing trade here. But yeah, one thing, like I said, is it's very concerning for me is people aren't learning what we learn in Canada, right? And what we learn in Canada was there's going to be a lot of competition. There's going to be a lot of consolidation. There's going to be a lot of challenges, from a tax perspective, from different reform perspective. In the US, it's still federally illegal. We have no access to banking. You still can't buy with a credit card, right? So everybody was ditching the LPs when the going was getting tough. And, while most LPs were finally starting to turn the page, look at Aurora, case in point, right? Everybody had written off Aurora, saying it was, it was garbage, it was dead, it wasn't even in the top 20 in terms of rec in Canada. And here now everybody thinks ACB's the leader. And they've done 2 reverse splits, right? So people don't learn from their mistakes, and now the focus is shifting back to LPs. And it's just because people, they want to chase the flavor of the week, right? And you need to learn from what we learned in Canada. And the cold hard truth is that a lot of these Canadian operators, they've been operating now under a legal framework for almost 7 years. And there's a reason why big alcohol and big tobacco is picking LPs, in my opinion, is because they're battle tested. And they're going to go to the US and they're going to eat these MSOs lunch, in my opinion. Will there be leaders and winners and losers both sides of the border? Absolutely. But to think that LPs aren't going to have a place in the future long term as a leader in this space, that would be very naive to think. And we actually do have an inverse head and shoulders, which I just noticed on the chart that is forming as well. So we'll grab our head and shoulders tool and we'll take a quick measurement on what that could potentially look like. So this is our neck that is potentially forming. If we do top out here, it would make a lot of sense because we still have yet to confirm a weekly uptrend. This move's all coming off the lows. You can see here we never lost a low of the previous weekly candle. So once we do top out, which is the most likely scenario compared to resistance here at 212, we'll come down, look for a right shoulder somewhere around that $1.85 area, and then that will give us our right shoulder in the inverse head and shoulders, and also the weekly higher low and a potential trend change. And over the next couple of weeks, we could see an EMA 12 and 26 bull cross as well, similar to what happened on the daily time frame. And we were also weekly oversold as well. So if that were to be the case, if we do top out here at the neckline, somewhere around that 212 area, come down around $1.85, form a right shoulder, our measured move from the low to the high there, you just move it out to your neckline, and it would say about $2.80 would be in the cards, which, it could take many months for that to happen. And it's more than likely going to take some sort of sector-wide catalyst. I think safer banking has a very good chance of passing at some point in 2025. On the weekly time frame, we had a stochastic and a MACD bull cross as well, and now we're back above the 10-week moving average. So it's looking like all systems go there, looking very, very strong on the weekly macros. We did have a weekly 50 and 100 weekly moving average bear cross, so we've seen quite a bit of downside as a result. But some good news out of this is that we could be seeing some limited downside as that bear cross has already occurred, and we could start to go the other way, which again we're starting to see that now with some momentum really starting to build to the upside. But again, one earnings report is great, but if the whole sector remains bearish, right? Look what happened to Aurora. They had that fantastic earnings report back here, or was it right here? Yeah. So they had a huge beat, right? And price absolutely skyrocketed, and then we came down and basically gave the whole move back. So again, if the whole sector is still bearish, it doesn't matter if you post stellar earnings 1 quarter or 2 quarters. You need the whole sector to reverse. And case in point, look at Green Thumb, look at Trulieve. They have fantastic earnings, but yet stocks are selling off. And I did videos on these yesterday But yeah, GTI I mentioned would probably be down around somewhere around that 4 or 5%, and here it is down. It was down over 3% there not too long ago, and Truly was down about 2.5%. So pretty much exactly what we expected. And they have fantastic earnings, but it just wasn't as fantastic as it normally is. So again, a casing point that the whole sector needs to reverse. And the only way that's going to happen is if we get something concrete, either banking or rescheduling or an attempt to deschedule. I can't see that happening as the first step, but I think safer banking makes the most sense. Get the Wall Street banks, the institutions. Nothing happens without their greedy paws all over everything. So I think that makes the most sense as the first step. And that could happen at some point in 2025, if not 2026 at the latest, I would think. But in terms of the 200-day moving average, that was sitting at 205, so we topped out right at that as well. So that was a nice area of resistance to be targeting. And over the next, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks, we could potentially see a golden cross with the 50 crossing through the 200-day moving average. When it happens the other way, it's a death cross, and look what happened. We had tons of downside after that death cross occurred, and that occurred back in September of 2024. And then just an absolute bloodbath. And now we're looking for a golden cross over the next few weeks. But again, looking for that potential inverse head and shoulders and that weekly higher low and uptrend and EMA 12 and 26 bull cross to occur all in one go. That would be the best case scenario. I mean, well, the best case scenario would be if we just continued higher and we didn't even start consolidation, went right to that $3 mark. But that wouldn't be grounded in reality. Certainly not impossible, but not probable. All right, going to end it there. Let me know what you think of this earnings. The earnings report in the comment section below. We'll continue the conversation there. It's Rod with Powell Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you again on the next video. I'm also going to be looking to add to my CRON position. I'm still just waiting for a lot of my crypto profits to rotate, and I'll be loading the boat a lot more on MJ, and CRON will be one of them. But again, don't buy or sell anything based on anything that I say or write. This isn't financial advice. All right, have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one.